3 days after winning the White House, a shakeup in the Trump transition team. Vice President-elect Mike Pence is taking over as chairman from New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. Christie will remain as a vice chair along with Dr. Ben Carson, General Mike Flynn, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, and Senator Jeff Sessions. When asked whether or not they are being considered for positions in the new administration, some of Mr. Trump's closest allies are keeping us in suspense.
Right now, I'm pretty happy where I am. So it would have to be something where I believe that only I could do that properly.
We're having discussions. You know, my goal in all of this is not so much a cabinet position or any type of government position, but to really help America move in the right direction.
I don't have any updates for you on transition. I'm sitting here at the RNC, and it's a great job, and that's the one I'm doing, and I love it.
All right, Casey, do we believe any of them?
Aren't they cute and shy and bashful and in heavy consideration?
Yeah.
You know, but for sure, and you saw when he said, you know, thank you for electing me, you know, President of the United States, the people he specifically mentioned that repeatedly, people like Rudy Giuliani and Newt Gingrich, all of that, Dr. Ben Carson, Christie, they're going to get some kind of position. Assuming that they want it, I believe it will be offered. And you heard what Rudy had to say. I imagine he's going to want to have Rudy Giuliani very close by his side, and the former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich.
Juan, any thoughts on who we saw? Any thoughts on who might be a surprise, a sleeper?
I think, though, the story of the day is Chris Christie's gone. I mean, that he puts Pence in to replace Christie. And we know Christie's been having some troubles with New Jersey, being governor of New Jersey. But, you know, loyalty is a big thing for Donald Trump from all I can gather. And so I think it must have been very emotional for him to have to say, look, I don't think this is good to have Chris Christie in charge of this. And then from the Democrats' perspective, there's the whole notion of so many lobbyists right now who look to be involved. Because remember, I know Kimberly. Kimberly's like in my brain at night telling me, drain the swamp, drain the swamp, drain the swamp in Washington.
I'm in Greg's brain, too.
In Greg's brain?
You
Yeah,
might
but as,
have
like,
a
Sarah
thing
Connor
with the prostate.
or
You have to keep getting up to drain the swamp.
I think the doctors
That's
took
not the
mine.
swamp. I'm not involved.
Anyway, he's got all these lobbyists, Eric. So people are like, wait a minute, I thought he wasn't going to do Washington people.
Well, there's no indication that he is. I mean, he has to hire, at least he has to hire quite a few tens of thousands of people. He needs 350 in the West Wing in the White House. He needs several thousand the first 100 days. Needs several tens of thousands going forward. And I know that group. They're not into hiring any of the establishment, the regular people who, anti-Trumpers, who took shots at them for the last 600 days.
Well, and I hope they bring some people from outside the system. You know, Peter Thiel's in there as well, who is a Silicon Valley executive and someone who's been in the tech business, because that has been part of Donald Trump's appeal. He's ran an unconventional campaign, and the hope is that he continues to the White House and runs an unconventional White House. Because what does everybody hate about Washington, D.C. and government? The fact that it's broken, the fact that there's too much bureaucracy. And what Donald Trump has done well, if you look in the primary, you look in the general election, he has won with such little staff, comparatively speaking, to what Romney had on the campaign team, what President Obama had on the campaign team. But I think a lot of that stems from the fact that he's a business guy, and the fact that you weed out the fat. You cut the fat. You work with a lean operating machine, and I hope that's what he takes to the White House. So maybe he doesn't have to hire as many people as they've had previously in the White House.
Greg has a point on
that. He needs
that.
a lot of people. Greg, so he is a businessman.
Right.
And I had this idea to like brainstorm today, run this place like you run a business, where he's chairman of the board, but you can have a board of directors too. So when you get a situation where Kellyanne Conway has been so great for him, I mean, she really brought that campaign back. Bannon helped him quite a bit. Reince Priebus came on, and this whole group worked together. Why not run it like a boardroom?
Well, I mean, look how it was run before. You have to talk about, you're talking about changing the mindset of the White House. The previous mindset was of community organizing. If you looked at the people that were there, they came from that kind of, I don't know, earnest, we know better than you failure. It was, you know, it's now falling apart. My big concern is how many FNC contributors are we going to lose? I mean, there's Bolton.
Not you.
There's Newton. Gingrich. Newton. I like to call him
Wait,
Big
is this your appeal to the Trump campaign, the Trump White House?
No, I'm happy here. Big Newton, as I call him. Sheriff Clark, Giuliani. We're going to have to like go to Starbucks and pull people out of the line to fill up our afternoon lineup. It's going to be hard. I think a surprising nomination, we're talking about inclusion, making it different, and Donald Trump reaching out. His transition team should have Caitlyn Jenner. Somebody who actually knows a bit about transitioning. She's a solid conservative, a solid conservative.
This is why you're not
no,
on
I'm not
special
joking.
report.
I'm
Yeah.
not joking. Donald Trump should reach out. He'd get the Kardashian vote. He would let people know that he's open to everything and everybody.
But
and
Greg,
everybody.
Greg, what about the bathrooms at the White House?
They'd have to address that.
Oh,
Can I throw
I think
something
no, there's no men and women bathrooms.
Can I bring this?
no, but he actually
But what-
didn't Trump say that he liked everybody to use the same bathroom?
What expertise would Caitlyn Jenner have?
What are you
Don't
talking?
ask.
Oh, brilliant. She's brilliant.
This brings us back to center for 1 second. In light of what Greg said, reach across the aisle.
Yeah.
So what about reaching across the aisle, say, in a Treasury Secretary, someone like Michael Bloomberg, who he may not want the job, but
What?
No, listen.
He bashed him
No,
during-
I know.
But that shouldn't matter.
That shouldn't matter, and that's the
shouldn't
whole point. And Donald Trump is the businessman.
Stop being vindictive.
Bloomberg is
Here's
a
the bottom
very
line.
good
You don't
Can't be vindictive.
It's not about being vindictive. It's about being
Vengeful?
smart. And if somebody doesn't share your same principles and ideas,
Okay.
and specifically
But-
want to put forward the platform that the people elected you
But-
wholeheartedly
One
with,
word.
why are you bringing
One
them
word.
in?
Newt. Newt was behind Donald, the President-elect Trump, 100%. But when President-elect Trump screwed up, who was the first one after him? Newt. You can't have all yes men.
It's
You
not
got to
a
have
yes
one
man.
no
I'm talking
man.
about
You got to have
specific
one no
policy.
man.
All right,
But
so,
what if
so
not?
here's,
They agree on policy.
here's a nice word about Donald Trump. Do you notice that-
President-elect Trump. Did you get the memo?
You know, it's hard for me. It's hard. You got to give me time. But
Juan's in recovery.
But I must say, I am, buddy. I'm telling
going
you, you're
well.
lucky I'm here. But I'm
Really?
But I'm telling you something. Ed Meese is on this transition team, and Ed Meese was highly critical of Donald Trump.
But if you look at someone like Bloomberg, it could be smart politically because Bloomberg has talked about running before. So what if he's eyeing 2020? You put him on your team, you take him out of the running. It's a good way to get one of your political opponents out of the way.
The
That's
beauty
a
of
little
Bloomberg as a
Machiavellian.
Treasury Secretary, he's not a senior economic advisor, which I would say then you don't
Yeah.
want that
But that's
person
what
there.
I'm saying.
But a Treasury Secretary where all he's concerned about the currency, he's concerned about money flows, he's concerned about people not having vindictive currency situations with us. I mean, that's a really
Can I take
a
fair and balanced approach.
Well, for Donald Trump, too, he also has to consider the fact that he wants to keep Republican majorities in the Senate and House. So he has to be careful about if he wants to tap any of the current senators or any of the members of Congress in the House, because he doesn't want those to be open seats. He doesn't want those to end up, in special elections, and then ultimately lose potentially the majority.
So I
Same
have an
for the
idea. I like your
governors as
idea,
well.
by the way, because I think the world of Michael Bloomberg. But I want to take it to the next level, Eric. What about Elizabeth Warren?
Oh,
No,
I'm
I'm
a Treasury
Bernie
Secretary.
Sanders.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
would do Bernie
Bernie
Sanders.
Sanders.
Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
very
But
good.
they agree.
Talk
But
about
they
so-
agree, Eric.
Or what
They
is-
agree
sorry,
on
Juan.
Wall Street.
Her and her.
Juan's on Fantasy Island. There's not going to be any Pocahontas coming on.
Those two would blow up Wall Street. They would destroy Wall
But
Street. Bloomberg's not that. Todd Bloomberg's a smart man.
No, but Donald Trump is highly critical of Wall Street and the elite.
Okay, but look at the people that he said that he might put on
we have
there.
2 minutes. We have to do another topic. I'm telling you, run this administration like a boardroom, man. What an interesting
Like The Apprentice.
concept. Like The Apprentice.
Oh,
like
my God, stop
No,
it.
like
Don't
any
be an
major
idiot.
corporation.
It's like The Apprentice. That's a
No.
TV show.
Hey, moron, that was a joke.
Chairman and the board. Wow, I love this concept. All right,
You're
two
fired.
of Hillary Clinton's supporters, Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, are now extending an olive branch. Juan, are you listening to this? An olive branch to work with President-elect Donald Trump.
When his goal is to increase the economic security of middle-class families, and count me in. I will push aside our differences and I will work with him to achieve that goal.
Trump talked about his concerns about outsourcing, his concerns about a bad trade policy. If he is serious about reforming our trade policies, creating jobs in America and not in China, let us work with him.
And this highlights, Greg, that Trump is not a typical GOP Republican.
Okay, this is
some of these
like
things.
I would be obviously against Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren anywhere close to the administration.
Why?
But I said this to you last night at the bar. I
As a
said that Donald
socialism.
Trump is not a conservative.
I agree with you.
ideologically.
No, you're
he's
right.
a centrist.
You're right.
So if he is probably The most amenable to doing stuff like this that any Republican has ever
Okay,
seen.
but Eric, a minute ago you were dogging me for talking about Sanders and Warren. You just put them on TV.
I was talking about what they said. They're in favor of free trade. Those two. They're not in favor of NAFTA and
not free
and
trade.
TPP.
No, they're in favor of doing away with some of these free trade deals to protect American
workers. That's exactly what I
So
just
that's
said.
what I say to you.
Doing away with trade deals, not free trade deals.
Okay,
keep his eye on those
and
two,
big
though.
difference.
And one quick thing, Lisa.
And his
I think
behind his
when you
back.
look at Donald Trump's number one, what looks to me the number one thing he's going to do, infrastructure spending.
I love it.
So does Bernie
love it.
Sanders,
Yeah, and so
Elizabeth
did
Warren,
President
and
Obama
Nancy
and Hillary
Pelosi.
Clinton.
But those two are going
That's
to be
the
his
point.
troublemakers because with the diminished Democratic presence in the House and Senate, those guys are going to be the ones that are causing trouble for Donald Trump, causing trouble for Republicans at large. I mean, those are the people he needs to eye.
The good news, KG, is that the Republicans held the Senate. They have a stronghold in the House, and 2018 is going to be even better for them in both chambers.
Absolutely. They've got the cards on the table, and so fine. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, people like that, have nowhere else to pivot. They've got to say we're going to come to the table, and to the extent that they can have some common ground on common sense issues that are going to benefit the working class Americans out there, we can give you a chance.
What about Omarosa?
Oh, no.
Where's she going to go?
Get out of here.
It's just like The Apprentice. Come on, guys.
We'll leave it right there. The programming note. Make sure to tune in this Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll be here with a special live post-election edition of The Five. You don't want to miss that. Coming up, it was one of the biggest promises on the campaign trail, repeal and replace Obamacare. But just moments ago, Donald Trump, President-elect Donald Trump, made some major news on that front, what he's planning on doing now when The Five returns.
Obamacare is a disaster. You know it. We all know it. Obamacare will never work. It's very bad health insurance. It is a disastrous plan, and it has to be repealed and replaced.
There's a new development regarding Obamacare. After a year of campaigning on the promise to overhaul the health care law, we're now learning that President-elect Trump may be softening his stance a bit. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal, Mr. Trump said that after meeting with President Obama, he will consider leaving in place certain parts of the Affordable Care Act. Greg?
Well, okay, two things. President Obama, he's scrambling to save his signature program. It's like watching your car get repossessed in front of all of your friends. And he's like, maybe he can, it's got his name on it. But Trump, I'll say it again, he's moving to the center faster than a kid with an Oreo. And he's like going, you know what, maybe there are some good parts to this this program that we could keep. However, those parts we now know are part of a Republican alternative.
Of course.
Yeah.
Those are two issues that the Republicans said that they would do way back before Obamacare was Obamacare. Remember that big health care meeting with President Obama and Paul Ryan was there? Those are things that the Republicans never pushed back on. Those were part of a Republican
There was consensus on that to begin
and that
with.
Paul Ryan, his replacement plan, would probably have had that as well. So the big breaking news that Donald Trump may be flip-flopping on a campaign promise, I would say not. I think if anything, Greg points out, he's at least keeping a piece of
Right.
I think the article in the Wall
It's like
Street
a
Journal
nothing
suggested
tofu
that
burger.
it's larger than just those two elements. The two elements we're talking about, so the viewers understand, is element number one, allowing people with pre-existing conditions to get health care, and number two, that if you have a child under 26 on the family's health care plan, the child would be allowed to stay on that plan even after leaving college.
And what would
Those
you
are
like to
liberal
say?
ideas.
Right, but so
you know
what?
what? They're conservative ideas too. But I'm just telling you.
I don't know.
I think that what you have here is President-elect Trump saying, "Hey, you know what? There may be some elements here that are good." And I don't know how that hits conservative ears that have been hearing all along, "Oh, Trump is going to get rid of this." So, Lisa, another element to consider is in the last day, 100,000 people have signed up for Obamacare.
Well, I wouldn't read too much into this because Republicans have long said that pre-existing conditions is something that they would keep in their replacement plan. But I think we should keep in mind that Obamacare took 2 years for the Democratic Party to pass. And so ultimately, this is something that will get done under President Trump. This is something that Republicans have long said that they're going to do. Now that they have the numbers to do it, it will get done. But it is going to take a while. There's a lot of core things that Republicans all agree on that needs to be in the replacement plan. But it is going to take a while for a consensus in the House and the Senate with President Trump of what that replacement plan is going to look like. So this is going to take a while.
Well, while it takes
to get
time,
a
Lisa,
consensus.
let's hear what Richard Branson and Zeke Emanuel think about doing away with Obamacare.
Well, they're the architects.
They're the architects.
Well,
They're the architects. 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 They're the
I'm very upset because I think we did a very positive stand. No matter what's your metric, if it's getting people insurance, you know, we have about 20 million people who got insurance. If it's cost control, the ACA has definitely brought costs down. And so it's been a pretty big success.
The universal healthcare system in America was not perfect. I think it would have got better and better and better. But abolish it, it's going to mean millions of people going to suffer in the States. You know, poor people. People will die. The misery will come back to what happened before.
So, KG,
Yes.
you hear Richard Branson's businessman saying, you know, repeal, millions will die.
So he's a healthcare expert. I mean, I'll listen to him about airplanes and space travel, but I'm going to listen to somebody from another country say what we should do with healthcare in America. I don't know, whatever, pass. And then as for like Lion Zeke, I mean, these are the people that perpetuated fraud on the American people and sold them a total bag of lion goods by saying you could keep your insurance, your rates won't go up, and keep your doctor, all
I
of
hear
that.
you call this man, you know, lion, whatever. But
Lion Zeke.
Isn't it true that, in fact, 20 million people have health insurance as a result of the Affordable Care Act? And isn't it true that it's bent the cost curve?
And people shouldn't want to have a recalled Pinto when they can drive a safe car with airbags that won't explode. The point is, don't say just because they have it is good enough. They should be given quality, competitive health care, and that's where the free market is going to come in.
Okay, so I'm going to come to you on this point because I know you disagree about the cost curve, but I also want to say, this is picking up on Lisa's point, that what we know is that full repeal of Obamacare would take 60 votes in the Senate. Obviously, Republicans are not going to have 60 votes. So they can go through a budgetary process. Wait, let me finish. You can go through a budgetary process called reconciliation, but that's going to take, as Lisa suggests, years. So in between, what are people going to do?
Because here's the problem with Obamacare from the very beginning. Not that there wasn't an alternative health care provider system floated by the government. That wasn't the problem. The problem became when it was a mandate, when you had to buy it or you're going to get fined or taxed, penalized for doing it. So if you lift the mandate, boy, you want to know something? Let the government offer another solution so they can compete with Aetna and bring Aetna's price down, or Humana, or whoever. That's a fantastic idea. But when you mandate that you have to have one of them, therein lies the problem. And your 20 million people who have health care now are at the cost, at the expense of another 40 million people who are paying a lot more for those people.
And it's not 20 million. Let's be clear on that. It's way less because you have to factor in the people who lost their insurance as well.
All right, so here's the thing. Right now, the two key ideas that are coming out of the Trump camp are health savings accounts,
which have been around.
Okay, and sell insurance across state lines. Now, do you think that's going to...
That helps.
Oh, you think this is
competition makes everything better?
Or is it going to just drive everything to the bottom?
I mean, imagine if you... In any place you could not compete, you would, and you were stuck with what they gave you.
But I'm saying, so if Mississippi has this kind of health care, you say, oh, that's a bit bottom line. You can buy it there, it's cheap, but it doesn't give you very much actual coverage.
You can make your choice.
But that's the point.
What if you just want catastrophic?
You have the power versus the government telling you and penalizing you and saying you have to pay a fine. Can I give you a good example of this?
Here's the perfect example. The U.S. government has a system for taking a piece of paper and sending it across the country. It's called the U.S. Postal Service. Right. There's also a UPS private, Aetna, or Federal Express, Humana. Let the government compete with the private companies and bring the prices down.
A single payer
but don't mandate you have to be on them. That's the whole point here.
Well, you know, we have to go, but single payer, I think, is the liberal idea, not the conservative
single
idea.
Single payer means you only have that choice, Juan.
No, you can have that. Plus, you can say you can go if you want to get it.
You can have the choice to not have anything, too.
I think we should listen to Bill Clinton. It's a disaster.
Lisa wins. Directly ahead, another big Trump promise, build a wall. When can we expect President-elect Trump to make good on that campaign pledge? His illegal immigration agenda is in focus. Next.
A Trump administration will also secure and defend the borders of the United States. And yes, we will build what? We're going to build the wall. And here's a little quiz. I'm sure you're never going to be able to guess this. Who is going to pay for the wall? How did you guess?
Okay. President-elect Trump's tough stance against illegal immigration, including his promise to build a wall between the U.S. and Mexico, became one of his most powerful rallying cries during his run for the White House. If Mr. Trump is looking for support from Congress to execute his border security agenda, House Speaker Paul Ryan may be on board.
Are you in favor of building a wall?
I'm in favor of securing the border, and I do believe that you have to have physical barriers on the border. I will defer to the experts on the border as to what is the right way to actually secure the border. And remember, it's not just border security. You have to have interior enforcement. You have to have a visa tracking system. You have to have what we call e-verify, so someone can't steal another person's identity to get a job illegally. So on border security, on interior enforcement, this is something that all Republicans agree needs to be addressed. It's something that Donald Trump ran on, and that means securing the border, and we're going to do whatever it takes to do that.
So how soon will the president-elect start delivering on his campaign pledge? Bowling, build the wall.
Day one. I mean,
shovel ready?
Look, break ground on it. Yes, you can start building it. And there are so many ways. And this is one of the things I differ with Donald Trump on. I don't think you penalize Mexico for sending product into America. I think the way you do it is you start building the wall. You can use Mexican workers. That's a partial payment for it. But also you can do this oil deal that I told you about, where if oil's $50 a barrel, you pay Mexico $49 a barrel. You take $1 of that rather than paying them directly, put it into escrow account. That will build up, 2 million barrels per day that we buy from them. Yeah, that will build up over time. That'll pay for the darn wall. It doesn't affect. It's a free market solution to making Mexico pay for the wall.
Right? And why would they take less
Because
money?
they can't go anywhere else with it, because they just ship the oil. They can't. Why
not?
Because it costs them more to ship the oil somewhere else.
I think there's a global economy for oil.
It doesn't affect the global economy.
I'm just saying they have other markets.
It costs them more to send it to
there's
another
an
market.
oil delivery transportation fee that it's better for them to take the deal, make the deal, than try and send it a further distance.
I have an argument with you.
Go ahead.
I was listening to Paul Ryan, and when Brett Baer said, he never said, oh yeah, build a wall. No, he said, I'll defer to the experts. We'll look at the way to do it. We certainly want to secure the border. He never repeated build a wall.
Okay, he didn't chant it out. Okay,
no,
like
he didn't.
But the bottom line is he did say there has to be an element of border security and border protection that he would allow the experts to decide how to do it.
All right, and then you could talk to someone like Mitch McConnell in the Senate. He's like, well, I don't have any comment, or it's not on, nothing I'm going to bring up right away. Or Rudy Giuliani says last night, he says, well, that's going to take a while. That's a different message than first hour.
You thought it was going to be up? Didn't
you just say that?
Start.
That's what you just said.
Yeah, but you can break ground.
I don't think this is happening.
All right, Lisa.
Well, I think there's a lot that Donald Trump can do immediately on immigration and cutting down on illegal immigration. First of all, repealing or getting rid of some of his executive actions on immigration, most specifically the most recent executive action on immigration. So those are things that he can do relatively immediately, is to roll back those executive actions. But here's something I think is really interesting from this election. There's always been this talk that the only way Republicans can win over Hispanic voters is to support comprehensive immigration reform. Well, guess what? Donald Trump did not. That clearly did not happen in this election. And guess what? He did better than Mitt Romney did with Hispanics. So, and you also look at, there was a CNN poll back from September that showed that voters were almost split 50-50 on who they thought would best handle immigration. So I think that entire notion that Republicans have to embrace comprehensive immigration reform, that comes from the left. That comes from the mainstream media. I don't necessarily think, as evidenced by this most recent election, that is an idea that Republicans have to embrace to appeal to Hispanic voters.
I think, in fact, when I look at the polls, most Americans want immigration reform.
Well, no, and they want border security and protection as well. It's good for the U.S. economy, and it's good for the people in Mexico who are trying to come over here illegally and risking their lives, and children getting damaged and harmed and abused and assaulted.
I think most Americans want some kind of immigration reform. And when I look at the price tag, by the way, on the wall, $25 billion. Whoa.
Whoa. Did a liberal just complain about the price of something?
Yes.
I'm going to have a coronary. I'm having a 25 billion is nothing.
Nothing
in the scheme of what government programs are. Look,
Solyndra.
Here's a conflict.
More solar panels.
Here's a conflict. The wall is the shiny puppy that was promised to millions of people on Christmas morning. If you don't give them the wall, you're going to have Ann Coulter and Mickey Kaus and all the others that have been on this issue from day one. They're going to be ticked off. So he's got to somehow explain this, because to Juan's point, polls do show that the wall was not one of the primary issues. No. However, immigration is always important. So he's got to find that middle ground, and that middle ground is directly addressing violent offenders, the people responsible for horrible murders. The Kate Steinle horrible thing. He's got to say we're deporting. We will deport violent offenders. That's the first thing we're going to do. But I'm not going to break up families. Okay, I'm not going to do that. But he's got to thread that needle, and I think it can be done.
And also, President-elect Donald Trump said he would implement a version of Kate's Law, the one that O'Reilly has talked about as well, because there has to be something done about sanctuary cities. I know, being a former prosecutor from San Francisco.
I didn't know you were a former prosecutor.
I don't like to mention it a lot. Don't go away, because we're answering your questions about the election on this Facebook Friday coming up next.
We're kind of like the Muppets. Facebook
Especially
Friday.
you.
I know.
Size-wise.
Oh. How dare you? I'm going to go to you first,
Unity.
Kimberly. Unity.
Scared. Go ahead.
All right. This is from DG. Interesting. What will you do with your time now that elections are over?
Actually, I've been thinking about this. So, I think I'm pretty good at something.
Oh, tell me about it.
Correct. Competitive eating.
Yes.
So, I think I need to expand my horizons beyond the chicken wings, which I'm dominating, and I think I want to do sliders next.
Oh,
or
very good.
Hot dogs, like little pigs in a blanket.
Oh, very good.
What do you think?
I think that's a great idea.
Do you remember
Great
the time I
idea.
got
Just
challenged? But Pauline remembers this. I got challenged by the Hooter girls to do a chicken wing eating contest over there. Fox didn't approve it. Cancel.
Well, it's a new era, so
Yeah,
we'll
things
look
have
back on that. One.
Exactly.
So Eric has told me that I'm no longer allowed to read polls, so I have to read novels and history again. I'll get back to reading books, and also, so now it's my time, right? I can just do whatever I want, right? But stages of grief.
Yes.
How many stages of grief?
I think there's five.
Five. So
One's going to go into counseling.
Or denial.
Denial, anger, but then you don't care. What's that one called?
Or acceptance.
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 So
We're not there yet.
I have to go through. So everybody has to give me time.
We will.
Does Fox offer grief counseling?
But schools are.
No, it's called this. Sit at
Therapy
this
dogs.
table.
We need to bring in the
tough
therapy
love.
dogs.
This is an
Tough
intervention.
love.
Therapy
Yeah.
dog.
If you want to keep your grief counseling, you can keep your grief counseling. I heard that's part
I've
of
heard that
Obamacare.
before.
Eric, what do you-
Didn't
what do you-
turn out.
Well, I think I'm just getting back to working out again. I used to run quite a bit, and I still do, but I'd like to do that more and mix in some weightlifting.
That's a good
regime
idea. I got to
as
get
I
back
would like
to
you to film that
boxing.
for
well.
us
I can shave.
so I can watch it.
God.
I don't know.
You want-
It's a
fun to do.
multi-deviant platform. Wow.
Lisa, big plans now that this is over?
Sleep.
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to go on vacation. I haven't been on vacation in forever.
Yeah.
I don't know where. I have a wedding in May that I'm going to in Cabo, but that's a little bit further away.
Cabo.
Nice.
Cabo Wabo.
I know. It's going to be fun.
55.
But I need to do something sooner than that, I think. It's a little far away.
I'm just going to be doing odd jobs like I always do around O'Reilly's house. I do his lawn. I'm kind of like I do his,
Get his dry cleaning?
Yeah, his dry cleaning. It's great. Just for extra change.
Clean his hot tub.
Oh yeah. All right, next question from Carrie G. We're gonna
Has
go,
one.
We're gonna go this one. I wouldn't know. All right, if President-elect Trump gave you the opportunity to choose a cabinet position, which would you choose, or would you create a new one? We'll go this way.
Be the press secretary.
Really?
Yeah, it'd be fun. Answer questions from reporters. That's what I've been doing for the past 8 years. Campaign communications.
Uh-oh, wait a second.
Oh yeah, shoot, no, sorry. Thank you, Juan, for blowing my spot. First time on the show, and you're
way to just
embarrassing me
ruin her.
in front of national television.
That's all right. It's all right.
Oh, create it. Make
Cabinet.
it one. Make it one.
Make it one.
Can we go back to me? I don't know.
All right.
No doubt.
stirred up.
If I have to, if I got fired or something,
Yeah,
you're gonna leave. Clearly, Treasury Secretary. Can you imagine having your name on every paper bill going forward during your
I
tenure?
think you have bigger stuff to do if you're Treasury Secretary.
Well, I know, but that'd be cool. A perk.
Okay.
I'll tell you one thing I wouldn't do.
What's that?
I wouldn't throw
I don't
$1
know.
trillion
Juan's
in
like
free money to
biorhythms
the-
are down right now.
Juan.
You wouldn't throw
Come on, Juan.
Come on,
Yeah, and also you're bringing us down here.
Oh,
you know what you
yeah.
are? You're the depressed secretary.
Oh, the depressed.
Debbie Downer over
Depressed
here.
Yeah, meet the depressed. Here I am.
Yes.
So I would say my interest would be education and doing something about schools and school choice. I would definitely be behind that. And I think Trump would be behind it too, so we would be in sync on that. But I think for you, Greg, I think you should be labor secretary because we have to deal with the bionics and the robots coming.
That was going to be.
He can create his own little artificial intelligence czar robot obsessor.
Well, that's exactly. I would like to be the Department of Artificial Intelligence. I would do. I would drive everybody crazy because that's all I would talk about all day.
God, I
all
hope
day.
he's watching.
Also, I'd be in
Please
charge of.
take him.
I would be in charge of pharmaceuticals. So, like when you come into the White House, you got to put you have to sign in your pharmaceuticals with me, and I will keep it in my special area. And then at the end of the day, you get them back.
They would give you a janitor's
Perfect.
closet somewhere.
Yes.
Perfect. I don't know. There's a lot of jobs I would like to be perfectly honest. Something definitely involved with killing. I mean, but there's a wide variety of jobs. Chief of
Department
Staff
of
is like-
Killing.
Department of Killing, the czar of killing. ISIS National Security Advisor. I don't know. There's a lot of things I would like to be in charge of, in fact.
Well, I think you would do a fine job in the Department of Killing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Because you'd kill every night.
I want some, I want some online.
They hire often. They cycle through people pretty quickly.
Remember my invisible Facebook thing question? Put me in Raqqa, invisible, and
I like
ISIS.
that. All right.
ISIS canceled.
Anti-Trump agitators have tantrums for a second night in a row. Is their behavior fair, or is it time to accept the election? That's next in the 5.
Another night of anti-Trump agitators spilling into the streets in cities nationwide, this time smashing cars and setting fires over what they perceive as an unfair election. Mr. Trump's campaign manager has a message for those unhappy mobs.
This afternoon, President Bill Clinton called President-elect Donald Trump, and they had a very warm conversation. But that's my message to the protesters, too, which is take your cues from these 5 or 6 people today. The sitting president, the former president,
keep an open mind.
First Lady, keep an open mind, and certainly the Trumps.
So does the country need more leadership from the left?